Do you know what the number one marketing tool in America is? The number one marketing tool in America right now is short films, short videos. Now, I read a study recently that indicated more bandwidth is now taken up by short videos than anything else except Amazon Prime and Netflix, which means short films are being used by companies, by nonprofit organizations, by churches, by causes. People are using short films. And now let's talk about definitions here. When I say short film, I mean roughly 3 to 6 minutes. 3 to 6 minutes that tell the story about your product, your organization, your cause, your church, your ministry, your hospital, whatever the situation is. Suddenly, so many people are watching short films, they're becoming the number one marketing tool in America. I saw another study that indicated 46% of people that see a short video want to find out more. That means almost half the people that watch are interested enough to take the next step. And probably the most startling study I saw was that the 55 and older audience is actually watching the same number of short videos as the 20-something audience. So it's not just something that teenagers or 20-somethings or people in that area, they like and enjoy. Short videos are now becoming accepted everywhere. A lot of it is the advent of the iPhone. Mobile devices are changing the way we watch television, watch videos, and so it's incredibly important to realize how short videos can tell your story, can help your organization sell your product, raise money, whatever it is you're trying to do. It can be a powerful, powerful tool. So I want to talk a little bit in this episode about keys to shooting better videos and short films. 5 important areas that I see where people primarily fail. Now, I've been around a long time, and I've seen the advent and the growth of short films. It used to be short films were done just for art theaters or for real, artsy kind of things or independent filmmakers. But then when the video world came in, people started using short videos, not only to make a dramatic film or even a documentary, but to sell things, to raise money for things, to raise awareness. One of our clients right now is the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., and over the last number of years, we've probably produced more than 100 short films for donor development, for awareness, for getting the story out about the Museum of the Bible, and they've been remarkably effective. People talk about them everywhere I go. People remark about them. So they can be a great tool for you, no matter how big or small your organization. The key is doing it well. And here's 5 areas that I think when I see most people show me their short videos, here's 5 areas that I think we really need to focus on. Number 1, and I think in many ways this is the number 1, the most important thing is video is about emotion, not facts. If you have facts, that's great. In other words, you feed 100,000 people a year. Maybe your organization, this is particularly true in a church or a nonprofit environment. Maybe you're feeding hungry people. Maybe you're creating homeless shelters. Maybe you're doing remarkable work with sex-trafficked women. Who knows? Whatever it is you're doing, statistics are great, but they don't work in a video. I get a lot of videos sent to me that are just statistical things. They're just chomping off statistics like crazy. So many people fed, so many homeless sheltered, so many girls rescued, so many people, reached in an evangelistic crusade, for instance, so many water wells drilled in another country. So many facts. The truth is nobody wants facts. When it comes to a video, you want to make an emotional connection. It's far better to show the story of someone's life who was transformed because of the work you do than show me the numbers about the work you do. Sure, put the statistics or the numbers on your website, put them in a brochure, put them in a print piece, whatever you want. But when it comes to the video, I want to hear an emotional connection. I want to see an emotional connection. So think in terms, number 1, forget facts. This is not a history lesson. This is not a research paper. This is not a statistical study. A short video needs to be an emotional story about someone whose life was changed because of the work you do. That's when people start to respond. That's when people really make that connection. I've used this illustration before that with infomercials, for instance, those late night shows that we watch when we can't sleep at night. They may be about a miracle grill, or they may be about a workout machine or something else. What we've studied is the fact that you can talk about that product all day long till you're blue in the face. You can show its features, all the things it does. But what we've discovered is when you show the story of someone who ordered that, got it home, it worked, it had a huge impact on his life, that's when people watching the program think, you know what, if it worked for that guy, maybe it'll work for me, and that's when they order. Most ordering is not done during the explanation phase. Most ordering is done because of the testimony phase, the story of the impact that gimmick, that machine, that product, whatever it is, had. So I translate that to Christian programming. I translate it to cause programming. I translate it to nonprofit programming. If you can show the story of a life transformed because of the work you do, that's when people respond. So number one, always keep that in mind. A great short video is about emotion, not facts. The second thing is you need to become a better interviewer. Many times I see videos that are submitted to me and they're telling a great story. They're actually well shot, but the video interview is terrible. And that involves a lot of things. Number one, it involves the questions you ask. Make sure that you're asking the right questions and telling the right story. So a couple practical things that you need to think about when you're interviewing somebody. Here's something to think about. Number one, I want to see both that person's eyes. When I'm shooting a camera, when I'm setting up the camera for an interview and I'm interviewing somebody, I don't want to see their profile. I mean, look at it right now. If you could see what I'm doing, I'm turning right. And when I turn right or when I turn left and you see my profile, it doesn't nearly have the same power as if I'm looking straight at you. So think in terms of shooting straight on with people. Try to get the camera as close to the interviewer as possible. So many times I see interviews where the camera is way, way off, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 degrees apart from where the interviewer is. So that means when I'm shooting the interviewee, I'm only getting one side of their face. I'm only seeing one eye. I'm not really connecting with that person. So definitely, I think in terms of seeing both eyes. You want to get right on and make sure the camera is eye level. Not too low, not too high. When it's too high and looking down on somebody, it diminishes them, makes them look small. When you look up at somebody, it makes them look heroic, which may not be appropriate for the story you're trying to tell. So best practices is keep the camera about eye level. That's going to be really important. Second little practical thing about good interviews is make sure that there's no distractions going on in the room. You'd be amazed at how often I get interviewed for a documentary or get interviewed for a short video, and the crew is just wandering around. I'm trying to focus on something really serious, something real dramatic or intense, and yet people in my view, in my line of sight, are just wandering around. They're checking clipboards. They're having a bottle of water. They're even talking to each other in some cases. Look, when you're interviewing somebody on camera, make sure nobody is in their line of sight. Make sure nobody. If you want to get to that deep part of their heart so they can tell a story and really feel it emotionally and tell it well, don't distract them. Don't distract them. I just can't tell you how important that is. Also, it has to be a safe place where you're interviewing somebody. So many times I've seen interviews that were done in a place that was either out in the public where other people could hear, which makes it awkward if you want to get to intimate details about something, or it may be in some unsafe, like a warehouse, and maybe it looked cool, but the person being interviewed just felt really uncomfortable. Trust me, if they feel uncomfortable for whatever reason, they're not going to give you a great story. They're not going to really get down to the emotional heart of their story they're trying to tell. So become a good interviewer. Practice on people. Practice asking questions that really matter. And here's the other thing. Learn to ask questions that can't be answered with yes or no. You're interviewing somebody on camera, most often they're going to cut you out. If you're asking the questions, in most stories, most short films or short videos, they don't have time to actually ask the questions. You need to ask them in a way that the person saying the answer, people get it. That the question is a part of their answer. So always learn to ask questions that they just can't answer with a yes or no. You want a complete story. So when you cut together response, I think the greatest interviews there are when you cut the interviewer out and all you hear is their story put together. It's going to be a very powerful, remarkable thing. So number one, understand that a great short video is about emotion, not facts. Number two, you need to become a great interviewer. No distractions, ask the right questions, be comfortable. I even develop a relationship with the people beforehand. I've had many situations where what I'll generally do is walk in, we're at the location, I'll set the person down, I'll start chatting with them while the crew sets up. That means they're looking at me, they're thinking about me, they're not thinking about guys setting lights or setting the camera, and suddenly they don't freak out, you know. And in fact, I have a signal very often with my director of photography, with my camera operator. I'll just have a little subtle signal. When he starts rolling, he lets me know. And very often I've done full interviews with people, and when we're done, they say, okay, are you ready to start now? We did the whole interview and they didn't realize we were rolling. You talk about making them comfortable, making them share from their heart. You know, the minute you say action, or the minute you say, okay, we're rolling now, people clam up. So be careful when you do, you know, when you're setting up, get that person either out of the room so they don't get nervous, or you engage them and start talking to them. Now, you certainly don't want them to spill the beans. You don't want them to, you know, share everything so that when you do finally start, they have nothing left to tell. But get them in a comfortable place. And you have to be super sensitive. I'll never forget, years ago, long time ago, I was probably in my late 20s, I was sent to Ohio to do an interview with a woman. It was a follow-up interview with a woman who'd had contact with this organization 30 years or 40 years before, and they asked me to go see if any changes had happened in her life, and I went. Lo and behold, I arrived, and she was in her late 80s. And I knocked on the door, a little bitty house in rural Ohio, and she opened the door. She was very nice, but she said, I think you should look at this before you do the interview. She handed me a paper, and it was a letter from her doctor saying that she has really bad heart problems, and the slightest provocation, the slightest excitement could cause her to go into a heart seizure. And of course, I immediately froze. And I told the crew, my crew's trying to load equipment up on the porch and go in the house, the lights and camera. And I said, whoa. Took her in the house, talked to the crew for a minute, and they lit the scene from her porch through the windows into the living room. Camera came in, just a small tripod, camera, that was it. And the cameraman, and it was me, the camera operator. There were no lights in the room. There was no sound guy in the room. Everybody else operated on the porch, shining the lights through her window. And it turned out to be great. I didn't want to be the guy that killed this lady, this 80-some-year-old lady in rural Ohio, because I did the interview with her and I wasn't sensitive. So there's always a creative way. I have one DP. One time we did an interview with someone who was very, very, very nervous. And so we literally walked in. The cameraman set the camera in his lap. I started talking to her. He started rolling. We did the entire interview, not putting the camera on a tripod, just sitting the camera in his lap carefully. And we did the whole interview without her ever knowing. So there's techniques, there's tools. Remember, it's not about you. It's not about your camera. It's not about the shot. It's not about lighting the scene. Sure, all those things are important, but the single most important thing is the interviewee, the person you're interviewing, because the way they tell their story is going to make or break your short video. So become a great interviewer. It's a skill. It's a talent. Read books about it. Learn how to do it, because it'll help you so much in the way you encounter people and engage people to tell their story in your video. The third thing I would suggest is watch what other people are doing. You know, you can go to Vimeo, the Vimeo site, vimeo.com, and they have feature videos there, and you can watch them. You can, you know, I say if you're doing this for a church or a ministry, find churches or ministries that you respect and admire and go look at their work and see what they're doing. I mean, you can see the work from our team, Cooke Pictures, on Vimeo and on YouTube and other places. It's out there. It's floating around, and you can watch what the state of the art is when it comes to shooting style, when it comes to lighting techniques, when it comes to sound and audio and music. Those things change. Those things change. So watch what other people are doing. You know, stay with the times. Nothing is worse than watching a short video that looks like it was produced 8 or 10 years ago. Trust me, things change. So always keep your styles up, and you can only do that by seeing what other people are doing. So study short videos. You know, you wouldn't think of a concert pianist going to Carnegie Hall and performing without having spent hours studying what other pianists are doing or what other musicians are doing. You have to study what you do. It's very important. The fourth thing I would say is learn to write. And this is incredibly important for short films. And here's the thing. It may not be a dramatically written script. You may not even think of yourself as a screenwriter or a professional writer. Here's my philosophy. Learn enough about writing that you know how to tell a story. Plus, you recognize good writing when you see it. There's an old saying in theater, if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage, which means if it's not written down. Now, here's the deal. A lot of short videos are spontaneous. They're not based on a script. However, they all tell a story. They all tell a story. So read books on writing. Take classes on writing. I think one of the greatest skills I would like young filmmakers to learn is how to write well. Even if you're not going to be a professional writer, even if you're not going to do screenwriting, you need to understand how to tell a story well. So you can only get that from studying great writing. And trust me, how you write a movie, a 90-minute movie, is different than how you write a 6-minute video or a 3-minute video or even a 30-second commercial. Writing techniques differ, and so if you want to have an impact in how you tell your story, learn to write. It's incredibly important. And the last thing I would say is learn to sell yourself. You know, if you're a short video producer, if you're a filmmaker, and by the way, short videos are a powerful way to break in to a bigger industry. If you want to direct feature films, if you want to do commercials, doing short videos is a great introductory way to tell your story. And it's a great introductory way to show people your skill and your talent. So learn to sell yourself. What I find is, I find many commercial directors, many short film directors, short video directors, just are not good at positioning themselves in the marketplace. They're not good at pitching. They're not good at marketing themselves and promoting themselves. And you know, you want to think, I'm an artist, I'm a creative artist. Maybe it's not my job to promote myself. Well, hopefully one day that may be the case. But while you're young, or while you're, breaking into the business, or while you're going up the ladder of success, you need to be able to sell yourself. Learn how to do it. Learn about how branding applies to me. Learn how to market yourself. Learn how to pitch. All those things are incredibly important because you want to get your work seen. So take the time to invest in yourself, which means take the time to invest in your own ability to tell your story well. So 5 things that I think are important. Let's review real quick. Number 1, a great short video is about emotion, not facts. Use the facts, but use them on a website. Use them on a brochure. Use them on some print piece. But when it comes to the video, make that an emotionally heartbreaking story or a comedic story, whatever. But either way, make an emotionally connecting story. That's what will connect with people. The second thing is become a great interviewer. Learn to talk to people. Learn to, when I go to the Sundance Film Festival, we've been many times to the Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah. My favorite section of the documentaries. I'll go watch the documentaries because I'm fascinated. And you could tell in a minute who were the great interviewers, who could pull things out of people that they never expected, who are the bad interviewers who don't get much information out of people. It's a great thing to study and watch. So watch documentaries, watch other short films, see how other interviewers do it. The art of interviewing is an important and critical skill. Then, of course, number 3, just like the Sundance experience, watch what other people are doing. You can do it at YouTube. You can do it at Vimeo. You can do it on Netflix and Amazon. There are short film categories that you can see what other people are doing and how they're doing it. Study it. Nothing is worse than a short film that looks or feels dated. People want to be doing contemporary work that's going to be, leading out there. And that's why people hire you. So always be that guy on the cutting edge. Learn to write. Learn to write. I just feel like writing is so critical. I started out not understanding its power, not understanding why I needed to be good. And I started writing only because I didn't have the budget to hire a writer. So I started out doing commercial spots, and I did hundreds of those. And I've done probably 1,000 short videos over the years now. And writing has been so critical for me to be able to help me tell a great story. So learn the techniques of good writing because that really does matter. And finally, learn how to sell yourself. It's not about just making your short video and putting it on YouTube and expecting people to find it. You got to promote it. You got to get out there in front of people. So start learning the art of pitching. Learn how to gain confidence in yourself. Maybe we'll talk about some of these issues on another episode. But right now, think in terms of how you can sell yourself more effectively, how you can market yourself in a gracious, confident way to get your story heard, to get your material out there. Just remember, just like I said at the beginning, short videos are now the #1 marketing tool in America. Hospitals are doing it. Movie studios are doing it. I've done plenty of short videos for movie studios here in Hollywood to show background behind movies. Interviews with directors, interviews with writers, interviews with directors of photography, actors, other people on the crew, to tell the story of the making of this film. We've done a bunch of those for major studios. I've done it for ministry organizations and nonprofits and churches. I'll tell you, the popularity of short videos, people can watch them on a phone or an iPad or their computer. They can see them online. It's just a powerful tool to share with social media. Now that social media is so big, one of the great places to do short videos is through social media. So all these skills are incredibly important. And whatever organization you're working with or whatever you're trying to promote or just stories you feel like you need to tell, the great way to do it is through short videos. And I encourage you to get out there, get your camera. Even if all you've got is an iPhone, get out there making short videos because they can be very powerful ways to tell your story out there. So join us again. I'd love to talk about this kind of stuff, and I'm going to be doing some more episodes on short videos, because how you use them for fundraising, how you use them for awareness, how you use them for marketing and promoting your organization or your cause or your story are incredibly important. And in the meantime, you can check us out at philcooke.com. My blog is philcooke.com, where we wrestle with these issues of faith, media, and culture. If you're a creative person, let's continue this conversation, because creativity is the currency of today's culture. And if we're going to make an impact, creativity is really the key. Thanks for joining us.